Greetings programs and welcome back to Tropico 4 and the beautiful hills-ish of New Harris. It's not really a... well, there's one hill which is like an extinct volcano or something like that. But yeah, this is actually less hilly and mountainous than the real island of Harris. So it's 1955, we had built up a little bit of an economy, but it's not really that robust yet. There's a long ways to go. Now I've been thinking about where to progress from where we are now, and one of the ideas I've had is maybe skipping ahead early to build some factories and just importing what's needed. But you need a fairly decent head of cash for that, because you need to unlock the factory blueprints and then you need to have enough cash to actually make the imports. And as an additional expense, you need to have enough high school educated workers, because factories always require high school education. Money wise though, we're not doing too badly. We are in the pink, as it were. I mean, it shows revenues are down slightly. You can actually see from the graph there what our balance is. It's down slightly on the last year, but we are not in danger of running out of money or anything like that. We are going to have to keep an eye on these figures here though, the average pay versus Caribbean pay, because that does have a fairly significant impact on worker happiness, I've discovered. Not just the actual wage levels, but where it pegs to the average Caribbean pay, as I've been playing through a little bit of the campaign of this as well. But otherwise, I think we're in a not bad position. We're exporting a decent amount. I think we're exporting... where are we? You can actually see here. Corn is our top export, followed by sugar, logs and a little bit of fish. And actually, given that we're making sugar and haven't talked about factories and importing, a good factory to go for early on would be the rum distillery, because it's a bit of an expensive upfront cost. That would actually be most of my cash at the moment, but we can produce sugar. We wouldn't have the cost of imports, so we could just start doing it with what we have to hand, which is going to save us a lot of money and make us more money in the long run. But we won't do that just now. We might do something a bit cheaper and get the lumber mill. I'm not sure the lumber mill actually does require high school educated workers, but we're going to find out. So where have I put my actual... this is about the cheapest processed goods factory that you can make. I can't remember where I've got my actual... there we go, there's the logging camp. So we'll have it relatively close by. We don't have a lot of unemployment at the moment either, so that's something else we're going to have to be careful of and manage. Let's build it here. I don't want to put it like smack bang in the middle of these trees, because it'll knock down the trees and you need the trees for the actual logging camps to function. So let's put it there. I think we've also got some other stuff under construction, so we'll set that to a lower priority for now. Yeah, we're building a ministry, foreign office, because we were hoping to be able to selectively improve relations with people and therefore get more grant money, which is very useful for topping you up. But this is also just going to give us more money overall. And then at some point we might also want to... oh, we are actually building another tenement as well. So that's fine, because you can make the housing pay for itself, as I probably pointed out last time round. And later on, once you've gotten electricity going, which I don't know if we actually would be able to determine its infrastructure, because you have to pay for wind turbines, but wind turbines, unlike real life, I mean, they have a relatively high maintenance cost, but you just put them down, they don't require any workers, and they give you a constant stream of electricity. And if you have some decently high elevations on your island, then you can actually, I think you get up to like 40 megawatts per wind turbine, which is pretty good, and you don't have to worry about needing skilled workers as you do for a power plant. But I don't know if we really have enough high enough buildable elevated areas. We do have, you know, this kind of island spanning plateau, but I think we might maybe get like 20-25 megawatts out of the wind turbines, so I don't know if they're necessarily going to be worth it on this island. Anyway, let's actually unpause things, because that would help. And well, that's going to be helping me at the moment actually with my top export being corn. That's going to be we're going to be making more money than we would otherwise. We might also invest in upgrading this. It's a little bit, it's maybe a little bit much money to be throwing at it at the moment, but if we want to be building a factory where we've got logs as input, it would not hurt to increase the output of this. So we're actually we're going to go for that. We'll go for both of them actually, because the thing that actually makes trees regrow faster is only about half that price, so that's fine. But we don't want to massively spend any more money just now. We'll wait for some more money to roll in, and we're also going to have to think about things like building up the military and keeping an eye on keeping factions happy, because at the moment, let's see, we've got only 48% happiness, although it is rising a bit. So yeah, we need to keep a sharp eye on this. We need a church at some point soon. Liberty is very low at the moment, but I think Liberty we're going to try and deliberately keep low. That's not being collected for some reason, so we might even need another Teamster's office. We're kind of running into
Colombian barons have
manpower issues, as it were, at the moment. We need a bigger population, really.
Unacceptable.
And also that's the game just going, hey, the militarists are probably not very happy with you, I think. No, everyone's relatively okay with me at the moment, but that's a way to increase respect with the militarists, is have a bigger standing army, basically. So what do we want to... We've actually already got a church, but we don't have enough... Oh, okay. We had built a church already. It's just we don't have enough workers. We are getting some throughput of high school educated workers, though, so that ought to help me out a bit. Poor healthcare was responsible for... Yeah. Well, we can't really... Like, you need electricity to build a hospital, and we can't, I think, maybe even necessarily afford another clinic at this point. But, yeah, let's wait for the workers to build things, and we can slow things down a little bit. We're getting a little bit of immigration as well. So there's the Foreign Office being built. I've actually bumped that up to higher priority and then put that to middling priority. Although we do need to get the ministry built as well. There's a lot of important stuff that you can only do once you've got the ministry. We can also have separate military government that discourages people from becoming rebels. We might actually want that one. Oh, here we go. Here's a random mission. Pop up. Build a new church. I think we'll accept that one, because you can have up to 5 going at a time, so we can just have that sitting there up until the point where we can actually afford to build a new church. So the priorities come first, like more housing. So that's another tenement built. I wonder if is it the quality of the natural resources. Fish, it might just be they can't access, like they seem to have a fairly narrow output storage 43. Yeah, I think they're just not getting a lot of fish out of this area. But I don't know why that would mean it's not producing anything. But that's not good, because that just means that that wharf is currently kind of functionally useless. So I might need to build another one further along and like switch the manpower between them, because at the moment that's just sucking down money and it's not actually helping me at all. So let's actually build another fisherman's wharf further along here. Oh, there's another mission there as well. Right, the fishing seems to be much better in this area. a little bit finicky about putting things on the coastline sometimes. Right, there we go. And we'll extend the road out a little bit. And we've also exported some stuff, so that's more cash monies, which is very nice. Comrade, I have a secret task for you.
It is a matter of international
we need salt.
urgency.
Export 500 salt. Can I actually... Oh, let's check that. You don't have to accept it right away. Can I actually have salt mines as a thing? Yes, we have salt deposits available. Oh, that's showing one. There we go, that and there, but it's showing one on the mini-map there, and I'm not seeing it. Unless I've managed to put the farm right on top of it somehow. But it would show up on the ground if that was a salt deposit, so I'm not sure why it's on the mini-map, but not on the actual ground overlay. Anyway, we could take that, but...
Comrade, I have a secret
I don't think we've... we don't have the infrastructure set up, that they're not really that close. We'd have to build all the way around here, and or all the way over here somewhere, so... Yeah, that's maybe not something we're set up for yet. Right, let's build another tenement block. That can sit as being a medium priority. What we'll do is we'll close off all those job slots for now, because that's just not producing at all. And those fishermen should automatically start working here, because that's already their profession, essentially. And there we go, the lumber mill is also just about completed. So this is just, having a lumber industry is something that the environmentalists don't like. But it is... It's not too bad as long as you're not like leaning heavily into it. And it also lets you later on build things like the furniture factory, which is another kind of advanced finished goods factory that can make you a lot of money potentially. Now we can just pay some upfront money to decrease the amount of pollution, but we don't quite have the high school educated students for that yet. One thing that will help as well is if we build the other where are we? Education and media, the grade school. That'll increase the intelligence of kids as they're growing up, and then therefore they're much more likely to go to high school later on, but we're not going to do that just yet. So neutral policies, let's double check our let's see, foreign, relatively high relations with everyone, so we'll just leave it on neutral at the moment. It'll increase relations with these three, because if you start increasing relations with either the US or the USSR, it decreases relations with the other, so you have to constantly juggle, and they're both relatively high at the moment, so we don't really need to do that. So this is nearly built. We're into 1956 already. This game can go past pretty quickly, especially if you're fast forwarding. But it's one of these games where the early game tends to be a lot of time spent fast forwarding, and then as the island grows bigger and bigger and you have more to manage, you start to play it a lot more at normal speeds. Right, so okay, that's the no workers symbol. That's fine for now. Hopefully someone will get trained up for that sooner rather than later. And that leaves, what were the other problems people had? Housing, religion, so we might build that extra church just now. Entertainment is on the low side, so we might want to do something about that. We can actually build something really cheap and easy. Have we got the childhood museum yet? Now let's build one of those, because that's kind of a fun one. And also it can generate you a bit of revenue potentially. So yeah, let's build the childhood museum. And the loyalists will quite like that as well. So where can we build another church? Because we'll actually I can place that down now and then set it as a lower building priority. It'll just squeeze in besides the foreign ministry. So you know what? We'll put one there. We can open up that final slot, but I don't think it'll make a difference. We don't actually have the educated workers for it yet. It takes a while, you know. In the years since we've had the school up and running, we've had 6 graduates, because not everybody that goes necessarily then graduates. So that is, it's still sitting there with a bit in the output storage. Don't know why. We don't yet have those workers having switched over. I guess, I don't know, maybe they found other jobs. Can't remember where I see unemployment again now. 9 people unemployed, so it might just be taking a while for them to find the jobs, as it were. Yeah, there we go. I would think they would preferentially try and work in a building that they already have the training for. But don't quote me on that. I don't 100% know how the game works. Right, we're doing alright for exports, but I think we're getting bumped up considerably by the corn at the moment. A 200% bonus for corn exports. So let's put an extra priority on that that tenement. Maybe start thinking about better housing types as well. I'm sure there's a way of yeah, we can get once we get the a foreign minister in place, we can actually get much cheaper tenements and apartments. So I want to wait before I build any apartments to get that first, but we need to actually have a foreign minister in place, so let's bump that up, because that can be the next priority as well. So there we go, childhood museum.
Our city is dirty and polluted.
We might as well take that one. That's fine. We can spam down some. There's a mixture of basically tackling pollution and putting down like fountains and gardens and things. So we can actually put down. Can we squeeze some in there maybe? We're going to displace somebody with that shanty, but it's fine. They can build another one. It can look a bit, I don't know, you can struggle a bit because there's only certain ones that'll fit into certain kind of, you know, that take up a certain footprint. But as long as you zoomed out and you don't notice that oh yeah, it's just the same decoration put down over and over again. But what we can do, which will also help, is at some point soon build, there'll be infrastructure, won't it? A garbage dump, which generates some pollution itself, but overall, oh yes, yeah, we can see there's quite a serious, like the farms are generating pollution, the lumber mill, all that are generating pollution. So that actually might be something we want to put down just now. You can even set it so it imports garbage, but yeah, environmentalists don't like that very much. So let's build that kind of in between the town and all the industry and farming that we've got going over on that side. This doesn't technically need to be connected to a road. Some buildings don't, and you'd think that would be one of the ones that do, but somehow apparently not. Let's also just keep a quick check on unemployed 6. I'm just contemplating whether it's worth building another Teamster's office. We do already have a couple of the cheaper entertainment buildings, don't we? I think the Childhood Museum helps a bit. We can only build one, but you can... Sometimes it'll say, oh hey, build another Childhood Museum, and I think that can actually raise the cap for you. So we can set it to either just go into my Swiss bank account, or which matters more for if you're playing the campaign. If you're just playing a, you know, sandbox like I am, and the Swiss bank account doesn't actually count for anything. So we'll just leave it on that, because that'll increase everybody's respect for El Presidente. El Presidentina, La Presidentina, whatever we decided it would be. Something along those lines. We can maybe do with another clinic at some point fairly soon as well. I put that to load, didn't I? Right, so that's building. And we can actually maybe check how many people don't have. Yeah, 35. So that is... we need like maybe another 1 or 2 of these. But let's wait for this to finish, and then we can save money on constructions. So how's this doing? You'd think the Fisherman's Wharf wouldn't have the same run-up that farms need, because it has a bit of a delay once you've built a farm that to, you know, represent the fact that the crops actually have to grow. But you wouldn't get that with the Fisherman's Wharf, so yeah, I'm not sure why that's not producing yet.
Presidente, several European countries are going to ban the public showing of Islamic religious symbols. The Middle East and
this is one of these, you know, like you're a bit boned either way. So let's take the Middle East relations hit.
Fine day, isn't it? The weather seems particularly nice.
Yeah, this game leaned into the caricatures a bit. I think that's something that... I don't know if Tropico 5 did it much, but Tropico 6 seems to have gone with a slightly more naturalistic look for the characters. But Tropico 4 was full on, you know, this. Right, give Europe 5,000. I don't think we want to do that one. We've already got reasonably good relations. And unlike the USSR and the US, the minor foreign factions will not invade you. If you're wondering, by the way, I was going to mention this at the start of the video and I completely forgot. If you're wondering about the lack of music, interrupted again.
Next year. They wish to show their everlasting love and respect.
Elections?
They may have used different
elections?
words, but that does not matter.
No. No. This is McJedi land. We don't do elections. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the lack of music. As it turned out, and here's the thing I should have done before even recording the first episode, the music that's used in-game is all licensed music. And so it immediately got copyright flagged. Or rather, it got Content ID flagged. I should be precise about the use of language here. So I have made absolutely no ad money off that first video whatsoever, but rather than redo the whole thing, I just kind of shrugged my shoulders and decided, right, I'm just going to not get caught out again in future. I sort of assumed that it was original, you know, compositions for the game, but as it turned out, no, it was entirely licensed music. So, yes, it's nice music. It fits the theme of the game very well. They made the selections very well, but if I want to make any money out of these videos, I have to turn it all off, sadly. And I guess I'll have to be careful about that if I ever look at any of the other Tropico games and their music. Tropico 6, I have to say, you know, talking of other Tropico games, it does look quite interesting. It does look good. That's one I would definitely consider picking up in future. I think the biggest thing that's holding us back at the moment is that we don't have a huge amount of population, although it is slowly growing. So another thing we could consider is the Immigration Office, which is not... It's going to take up a couple of high school educated workers, but it's like different buildings have specific requirements for male or female workers, and this is... I think there are fewer jobs overall for female workers, for female high school workers. Although with the college ones it seems to have a bit of a mix. And actually, having said that, I think also either male or female can work in factories, but don't quote me on that. But we're definitely not at the stage of lots of factories yet. So yeah, let's build an immigration office and see if we can't encourage some more skilled immigrants to actually come to the island. Right, so ministry's built. Next priority is going to be the garbage dump, which will hopefully increase our environmental rating a bit. Healthcare is slowly climbing, and that'll be the doctors getting more skilled at their jobs, because the longer people are in jobs, they actually have a skill rating for that job as well. Although most of the time you don't notice it. I think it's most noticeable with things like power plants, when the skill rating of the workers directly affects the actual power output that you get. Oh, there we go, 13 new immigrants. That's quite good. So let's appoint some people. Ministry of Economy. We don't have a lot of choice there. You can just hire outside people, which is a bit on the expensive side. Exceptional, abysmal courage. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we're just going to have to hire an outside person. Interior, we actually have some choices. Intelligence, courage, below average but leadership good, or we can have above average but leadership abysmal. Let's actually go with, yeah, we don't have any exceptional candidates there, but you very rarely get somebody, in fact I'm not sure I've ever seen somebody that's like outstanding in all regards. Although our Minister of Defence actually exceptional, above average. But it is one of our doctors, which we will have to replace, I think. No? Maybe? Sometimes it seems to steal workers from different things, and other times it doesn't. Don't know. Anyway, right, so, yeah, what we can now do is have access to various edicts that we didn't have before. And we can't get the one I immediately want, because we have to wait for the person to actually arrive, but we can do things like have the police and military buildings have a lower impact on liberty, which might actually be quite useful. So we're going to spend a little bit of money, seeing as how we've got some coming in. And you can cancel edicts later on if you start to have cash flow problems. Literacy programs. Workers and students gain experience 30% faster. That one's actually fairly cheap and I think worth having. We can also do things like burn all the books, have same-sex marriages. And you know what? Let's do that one right off the bat, just because why not? This is a land of, you know, not really giving a crap. If people want to do that, then that's fine. And it'll make the religious faction like us a little bit less, but is there anything else? Economy and tourism, pollution standards. We don't really have any factories yet, so there's not much point in doing that. Conscription. We might actually end up increasing our potential rebels if we do that, so we'll leave that one alone for now. But military modernization is one we might want to look at. And then there's this one, modern times, and this is interesting. So this is maybe when you get through to the later stages of the game. I have no experience with the modern times stuff at all. It was one of the more major pieces of DLC for the game. And it, you know, sets it with a modern day setting, and presumably you can have I don't know, bigger populations, bigger economy kind of things, but I don't know. As I say, I haven't played with any of that stuff at all. There's a lot of the DLC stuff I haven't really touched, because some of it is kind of its own little separate mini campaigns rather than tying into the base game campaign. But presumably it all ties into the sandbox mode. Who knows? So yeah, I think we're in a fairly decent state overall. We're coming up on half an hour for this recording, and I don't want to go completely quite as nuts as I did with the first episode. That one I deliberately set out to make a longer one just because it was the first one and I wanted to get things running. But this is you know, it's been 2 years more or less, around the 2-year mark of time passed, so I think we're doing okay. We've built some extra stuff. The economy's in reasonably good shape. We're actually getting some workers there. It's not making any money yet, but we've got a bunch of stuff in the input storage, so that'll produce a higher profit than just exporting the raw timber. So that'll be more profitable in the long run. And there we go. There's our garbage dump built. And we can also buy a thing that makes that produce less pollution itself. So that should overall increase our environmental rating. And that should help out a fair bit. And let's get that second clinic. Oh, we've already got 2 clinics. It would be a third clinic, or maybe we just need to hire another. Okay, let's just hire another worker. Actually, that should bump us over the 50 mark. I didn't even notice I had 2 clinics. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to... like, there was a really nice map mode with the various Impression City games like Pharaoh and Caesar 3 and the China-themed one, which I've even covered on the channel in reference to something else and can never remember the name of. But yeah, you could click on the various, like if you wanted to see the map overlays to see, you know, crime and whatever else, and it would highlight the specific buildings. And I don't know if it necessarily does that with if I wanted to see. Yeah, so it's not going, hey, this particular building is producing lots of pollution, or this particular building is covering is you know, covering this something. I was trying to have a thought there and it went away, as sometimes happens. Anyway, never mind. So yeah, I think we're in a fairly good state. We definitely need more housing. The economy is okay, but we could do with increasing overall happiness. Respect being high is good, though. I think respect is one of the things that functions as to whether people will go off and become rebels or not. But obviously happiness has a pretty high effect on that as well. So, I think what we'll do, we'll wait for our new Foreign Affairs Minister to arrive. We'll get that edict signed, and then we'll have cheaper housing available. And at that point, I will wrap up the episode, because otherwise, if I try and remember to do it in the next episode, I will undoubtedly forget. And if you're wondering about these, by the way, this one citizen became criminal. I don't know if the game autonomously, like if the police will go out and arrest criminals on their own. I don't think they do. I think having a police station just has a general effect on this kind of crime level overlay, this kind of mapping of you know, what the crime hotspots are. But if you want them to go and get the people who are specifically criminals, it seems like you have to do it yourself. And I've not quite yet figured out the trick of finding who criminals are, because you can click through and sometimes you'll find someone, it'll say, oh hey, this person's a criminal, like this person here, but we don't actually have a prison to put them in. So I don't know if there's something specific about their clothes, or although the fact that they're walking around carrying a, is that supposed to be a gun? I can't quite tell. That might be a bit of a giveaway. So yeah, we might actually want to have some kind of prison facility as well. But maybe in the next episode we'll start thinking about crime and punishment a bit more. This freight is taking an awfully long time to arrive. I know it's every like couple of months, but I was kind of hoping it would, you know. I'm just kind of having to extemporize at this point. While we wait for this freighter to arrive.
Great calamity, Presidente. All of my wife's birthdays are coming.
Do we want to just give them some money? I think in this case we will, because we had that didn't we have that? Where are we? Yeah, Middle East relations is pretty bad at the moment. So we will do that. I think that affects, whether they then give you other bonus missions, which sometimes can be quite lucrative. I'm not 100% sure about that. But we're kind of struggling for unless they're retraining to go and do other things. So actually close off some of those slots because having teachers is more of a priority. Oh, here we go. So the freighter's arriving, and we're going to get our new foreign minister. There we go. And we can go to, that's the wrong one, go to the edicts screen. And we can, we'll do that eventually, but that tends to be later game stuff. So yeah, apartments and tenements being literally half price is going to save us a lot of money. So that's, we still have to unlock them, but in fact we can do that right now. That's fine. Yeah, we can now build them much cheaper, and I think we'll be probably spamming a few more tenement blocks and apartment blocks. Probably some apartment blocks because we can start to afford it now more, and also the standard of housing will therefore increase as well.
And worse practices like homeopathy.
Right, so the game's telling me that healthcare is not very good, but that's a problem for next time. That's definitely a problem for next time. So 48%, it's not that bad. I don't know why it's... Anyway, never mind. Yeah, so hopefully you have enjoyed this episode. It's just been me doing more of what I did last time, sitting here wittering, but we've built a few things. We've expanded our facilities a little bit. I don't think we've really grown the economy that much, but we've taken our very first step towards industrialization, although we're not doing that well at the moment for educated workers, even if our overall workforce has gone up.
Reports that subversive elements might be
oh, go away, Penultimo. Yes, I know. That's a thing we'll do maybe next time as well. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this episode, and if you have, you can do all the usual things down underneath the video. And of course, as always, stay tuned for more.